Hey, good morning, guys. Today we're going to talk about using compressors. Okay. Now, we got a conversation going up in one of the communities talking about using compression for podcasting. And I made a statement that is truly just my honest opinion. If you know what you're doing and you know how to set your input levels, compression truly has no business whatsoever being on your vocals. Okay, it's just that simple. Now, I want to point out a website up here, Musician on a Mission. Okay, musicianonamission.com. The guy's name is Rob Mays. He's from across the pond, and he's got an awesome course up here that you can take. Doesn't take a lot of time. You just sign up. It's free. You're going to watch the videos, and the guy's going to really go through and explain what compression does. That's not what this video is about. Okay, as far as the one that I'm making, it's simply about why you do not use it as you are recording in an outside environment. In other words, if you're wanting to do an interview somewhere and you're in a bar or you're in a restaurant and you set up your mixing board or you set up your pre-FX to use compression on it, you're cutting your own throat. It's just that simple. Okay. Now, I want to go down here to, he's got one of these points on number 3. So let me just scroll down here real fast. And then we'll go back and look at another thing. And then we're going to jump over into Reaper. Okay. You don't always have to use compression. If you want something to sound fat or thick, a common reason people use compression, spend more time on your mic choice or your mic placement. And this is what we always refer to, guys, as proper mic technique. And then he goes on to say that a lot of people use heavy compression to control the dynamics, make something more consistent in terms of volume. Now we're talking about your track. Okay, you want to get that LRA, you want to get that loudness range within those 4 dBs. And like he states, this is the lazy approach. And he's absolutely 100% correct. Okay? Now, we're going to jump over here to his course. And this is who the guy is. Now, I took this course this morning. It took me about 25 minutes. I did not take his course to learn about compression. I took his course so I can recommend it to other people in the podcasting world. The guy has a BSc degree in the audio design and production from the University of Kent. He's a very avid certified Pro Tool user, Pro Tools 11. So he knows what he's talking about. He goes on to state, and these guys are up here, they're using it on instrument tracks. They're using it on bass and kick drums. They're using it on toms. They're going through and they're making these tracks sound fat. And he makes the very distinct comment that it is totally different than using compression on your vocals. Just that simple. So let's go ahead and get over to Reaper. Now, I've got 3 tracks here. I've got the original track that was sent to me. And then I've got that track that's been beefed up to the -18, lost with a -1. And then I've got the last track that I finished with my POA podcasting. And we've got some compressors up here. So let's go ahead and just look at track number 1. Okay, this is it. Right here. They recorded this at around a -37 through the entire track. That's the first mistake. Your proper input levels are between a -6 and -12 if you're going to do your vocals. Now, the second mistake they made was mic placement. And you're going to hear some things in here. And I'm going to show you what it sounds like at the recorded volume. Once the volume was pumped up to where it should have been, then we're going to add a compressor on that. And then I'm going to show you my mix on my podcast. And then we're going to add compression to that as well. And I'm going to let you be the judge on if you think that you would need to do this for your podcast. Okay? So, set your volume level to listen to me. Don't turn it up when I start to play this first track. It is extremely low. But that's just the way it is. So don't worry about hearing it now. You're going to be able to hear it better on track number 2. Okay, so we're going to go back to the beginning, and now let's listen. Sounds pretty jumbled, doesn't it? Well, when you bring this track up to the proper volume, okay, now it's going to sound like track number 2. Now we've got the FX turned on, so there is no compressor going on at this time. There's no compression being done. So now let's listen to it. Okay, you hear right in here where the guy says it'll be fine, it should be fine. And what he's doing, now listen, this recording was made from a very famous individual that's been to the United States White House. This was for a volunteer dinner, a promotion for public libraries. Okay, this is the audio they wound up with. So now the question is, can I help them repair it? And my answer is, not really. You're going to lose the majority of this recording. Now, I can go in there and take out some of this background noise. I can take out the coughs, the sneezes, and everything else. But this is the problem. The background noise is so close to when they start speaking, there's no way to gate it. Because when you gate the background noise, you're actually going to be taking out the vocals as well. Okay? So let's go over here now. And I want to go back. You're going to hear this young lady ask him what that recorder is. Listen to her. Okay, you really can't hear it on that track. So now let's listen to it with the volume up. Here right there, she said, "What is it?" And you're going to hear him try and explain it to her. But all you can truly hear is that roar, that rumble coming through in the background. So let's listen again. You hear right there, he tells her it's an audio recorder. Okay, so now let's go ahead and turn on the compressor. And that's what we're going to use right here. Now, my goal is not to teach you how to use compression. Okay? I'm going to tell you, just like every other professional audio engineer is going to tell you, it takes decades to properly learn how to use compression to the point of being an expert. I am in no way an expert. Do I use compression? Not on vocals, not for this, not for the spoken word. Do I use it if I'm going down and somebody wants me to record a choir, or somebody wants me to record a Saturday night sing jamboree at one of the local Christian churches? Absolutely. Okay? But here again, it's in a controlled environment. People are in the house of God. You could hear a pin drop. You don't hear any background noise whatsoever. Okay? So I've got the input set, or the threshold at a negative 16.5. My peak crest is a negative 1. My soft knees around a 6. The ratio, I'm doing a 2 to 1. If you're going to use compression on your vocals, never exceed 3 to 1. If you do, it's going to sound artificial and robotic. That's why I don't use this compressor down here for Reaper. Okay? I have no way to set it. They start at a minimum of 4 to 1, but I'm going to let you listen to that over here on my track. Okay? So the attack around 6 milliseconds, the release around 12 milliseconds, the release RMS, you can really, most of them aren't going to have this. Okay, the makeup gain, I do about 2 dBs. The dry mix I have off. I don't need to do anything with this. I truly don't, because I want to add compression to it. And my output's around a negative 4 dBs. And on this particular track, it's going to keep me from clipping. It keeps me right around that 18 lofts with a between a negative 8 or 0.8 and a negative 0.4 or 5 dBs, a negative 1.04 or 5. Okay, so let's listen to her again now as they're talking about this with the compressor on, and then we're going to listen to it again with the compressor off. So what is this compressor doing? Well, any of the peaks that come in, okay, anything that goes over this negative 16.5 dBs, it's going to reduce the peaks of that. So it takes those peaks of that audio and it compresses it down. It does not raise the noise floor, guys. That's not what a compressor does. Okay? Is your noise floor going to be raised? Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you why. When people use a compressor to equalize or make your audio closer in volume through that track, you're reducing all of the peaks. So now when you get ready to render your audio at the proper level, because your peaks have been reduced, you now have more headroom. So now when you get ready to render your audio, when you do this, not only is it going to raise your peaks back up, but it's also going to raise that noise floor with it. And that's why you can hear her a little bit louder and him a little bit louder when he's describing to her what he's using. But you have to realize it also makes that background noise much louder as well. Okay? So when you look at this track now, you can see how it came up. See, here's the waveform on that. Here's the waveform on the original. So here again, if you start off with the wrong input levels, you're making a mistake. If you slap that compressor on that before you even start recording, hang it up. If you truly want to produce quality audio, hang it up. You've already lost the battle. We are not talking about being in a controlled environment inside of a recording studio. Okay? Now, if I'm sitting here at the desk and there's no noise going on around me, and I want to do a slight compression on my voice as I start to record, no problem. That's not what we're talking about here. Okay? What we're talking about is using a external or a mixing board that has compression built into it, and you are in a noisy environment. Okay? So, we don't need these two files here anymore, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of them. And remove tracks. So now let's get back here. Now here is part of a podcast that I did. It doesn't need to have a whole lot of time to it. So let's go ahead and listen to that. As president, this person had the authority to sign checks for the association. That is your first mistake. Okay? You never, ever put one signature on your bank account. You just don't do it. Okay, you see the meter where it's coming in at a negative 3.2. Now, like I said, this is the compressor that comes with Reaper, and I believe they have another one. I just haven't found it yet. So now let's go ahead and turn this on. Now, here again, my threshold on here is a negative 7.8. All compressors work differently, even though they do the same thing. So this is my advice, and it's very solid advice. If you're going to use a compressor, use one. Learn how to use it inside and out. And I'm going to show you why here in a second. Okay, so watch the meter down here as it goes through. Here again, I've got 2.2 dBs of gain added to it. The release, the attack times the release, the mix is 100%. So let's go ahead and listen to it now, and let's watch this meter. Like, right now it's a negative 3.2.
As president, this person had the authority to sign checks for the association. That is your first mistake. Okay? You never, ever put one signature on your bank account. You just don't do it.
Okay, so as you can see, that dropped it down now to a negative 5.6. So now at this point, I would have to re-render my audio to bring it up to the levels that I want. As you can see, it comes in a negative 3.2, negative 5.6. And that's, where you're going to get close into these, the loudness range, if this is what you wanted to do. So now we're going to take this compressor off. And now we're going to bring up, and just so you know, guys, this is a free compressor. Okay? Now, I've got it set with a preset Dana, and here again, all of this now basically stays the same. So we're going to look at it at a 2-to-1 ratio, and then we're going to look at it with a 3-to-1 ratio. Okay? So go ahead and listen to this.
As president, this person had the authority to sign checks for the association. That is your first mistake. Okay? You never, ever put one signature on your bank account. You just don't do it.
I can tell right there, as far as the peak, I can adjust the level here. I can do the makeup gain here. Simply double click it. It goes back to 0. Watch it again.
As president, this person had the authority to sign checks for the association. That is your first mistake. Okay? You never, ever put one signature on your bank account. You just don't do it.
Okay, so see, we brought it down to a plus 0.1. So now let's go ahead and change our ratio. Let's go from a 2.1 to a 3-to-1. Okay, 3-to-1. And now let's listen to it.
As president, this person had the authority to sign checks for the association. That is your first mistake. Okay? You never, ever put one signature on your bank account. You just don't do it.
Okay? Now see, I've just removed every single clip that was in that piece of audio. But I promise you, there are no one set features for your compressor. There is no one size fits all. You are going to have to sit here and you're going to play with your threshold, your ratio, your attack, your release, your output gains, your makeup gains, all of it. Okay? Like I said, every single mixing and mastering engineer worth their money will tell you that compression is one of the hardest things to master when it comes to audio. All right? And that's it. It's just that simple. So, like I've always said, if you use this compression as you are recording, it's no different than using a gate as you are recording. It is embedded into that audio. And if you do not have it perfect, and I mean absolutely perfect, you will not be able to go back and get it out of your audio. Like I said, the first file I showed you was absolutely so important to these people for their recording. Their backup to their backup led to absolutely unusable audio. Okay? That's it, guys. Take care. God bless. And we are out of here.